If everybody would please take your seats, we're getting started. We're getting started. Also, an announcement before we do get started. The raffle tickets, the gold raffle tickets that you have in the back of your name badge, there has been some confusion about that. The ones in your name badge you want to hold on to. Hold on to those tickets that you have for the drawing that will be done throughout the event. So hold on to those tickets. And please put your hands together and welcome Dan Kennedy.
Good morning, everybody. This will be the last time we'll be on time. So, not a good sign that people are taking their half of the ticket and putting it in the... How are you, when I call your number, how are you, if both halves are... And I tell people this group is like the smartest pencils in the entire what used to be GKIC box. So imagine how dumb the rest of them are. All right, so we got to do all the housekeeping stuff as quickly as possible. First, let's see what I got here. So how many have been at previous June events? By the way, you'll always learn more looking around at them than looking at me. Raise your hands again. How many have not been to a June event? Raise your hand. Okay? And that's a little higher than usual. So the lesson, of course, is buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. But so most of you know how things work around here, and try and help the confused. So let's see. Sponsors and exhibitors, folks we want to acknowledge. You have a list on page 1 of everybody who we would be unable to do this without. And they all bring new stuff every year. So don't not go visit with them because you've seen them here before. They all bring new stuff. They're all pretty much handpicked to be in here by me. It has never been just somebody's got a check and can buy a table. They're here for good reason. They're people I use, depend on, refer clients to. So you will be smart to visit with them, meet with them, and hear their presentations. As usual, it is no surprise to you that how many of you went yesterday? Raise your hands if you went to the car thing yesterday. Did you guys all have a good time? Yeah. Did you learn something? Yeah. Anybody buy one? What's the matter with you guys? It's like, yeah, there you go. Oh, okay, then you're going to go back over if you don't win. Good, okay. Yeah, because, I arranged free shipping for you. It's just like Amazon. As always, we have a couple charities. You will meet them a little later today because they're going to share some information about how they suck money out of people. And they are here. And the Cleveland Food Bank, the truck we are buying for them will be here today. So if you want to see the real truck and you want to go take a selfie with the truck that you are contributing to, you are welcome to do that. New Vocations is not bringing a horse. The hotel sort of frowned on the idea of having that in here. But if you're going with us Saturday night, you'll be right up close, and you can get a selfie then. My charity objective is always to beat 6 figures. Easy the last couple of years because we have had a matching funds donor, in addition to me, who wrote a check equivalent to what everybody else paid. We do not have such a person this year. So it gets a little tougher. But I added some really cool stuff, which we'll talk about in a second. And hopefully that will help. And as always, when it's all said and done and we total it all up, I'll match what everybody did. The truck commitment is like 60,000, and New Vocations is building barns and putting in fences, and so we're striving for the 120 to 150 or better neighborhood if we can. It's a good place to be generous. They're both great charities. So I want to talk very quickly about the auction items. They are all out there on a table. And there is a complete sales letter makeover offered. So you get a rewrite by me. You get the illustrated sales letter done by Kia Arian. And you get it showcased in our media as well if you like to show off. And, of course, you own all the rights. And there's a minimum bid on that one. There's a thing we do about once a year, the Day with Dan experience, limited to 5 primaries. And you come, we hang out, we go out to the track early in the morning. You all get in a jog cart, go out on the track, and go around the track behind a real racehorse. You can take pictures. We go for brunch to the Hole in the Wall neighborhood diner, which they find extremely amusing because everybody else there are the same people who are there every day, and it ain't a class crowd by any stretch of the imagination. So everybody looks forward to our visit once a year to give them something to talk about for the rest of the year. Most people order, along with me, the featured breakfast item, which is called a hell of a mess. And it is a hell of a mess. It's eggs with all the leftovers from lunch is what it is, previous day. Then we go to my place and we do a mastermind, loose hot seat mastermind meeting, and then we go to dinner at a good restaurant. And there's a fairly low minimum bid on that, and 5 people will get to do it. Dr. Angeles has donated a basket of Daniel Pink books along with a 1-hour Q&A session about how he markets his practice and premium price procedures. There's no minimum bid on that. Sydney Barrows has donated 4 of her roadblock removal sessions. And I have to tell you, Sydney's probably one of the most interesting people in the room by virtue of odd and eclectic background and talent. Sydney's an interesting person. And there's no minimum bid. There is a kind of everything package. And so we've labeled it the huge package, not to be confused with any claim of having. Well, I just wanted, because I don't want to get in trouble. So, but you get Day with Dan, you stay afterward, 3/4 day of private consulting the following day. You get your sales letter makeover, and you get a choice of fly on the wall at a titanium meeting or Brian Kurtz's mastermind group in the spring. And then your choice of any 2, a 1-hour media consult with Clint Arthur, roadblock removal with Sydney, systems consultation with Partiv, down here, yeah. Since it's a phone call, you don't have to see him yelling up into the phone. Social media consult with Kim Walsh-Phillips or direct mail and list consult with Craig Simpson. You pick any 2. The whole deal has a minimum bid of $27,500. Just as a little deal sweetener, I actually thought we were out of them, but surfaced in my garage one more Dan Kennedy bobblehead. They're very rare at this point, and we'll throw that in with the huge package. And those of you who are going Saturday night, there's a ride in the starting car, and there's no minimum bid for that. But if you're going Saturday, that's something cool to do. It really is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Harness racing, if you don't know, is moving start, not standing start like you just saw in the Triple Crown. And you're at about 30 miles an hour when the gate opens. You got an eighth of a mile run up, and you are facing them, and they are all up against you, ready to go. And let's see who's done it. I know Lee Milteer's done it. I'm not sure who else, but Lee may even have video on her phone that she can access of having been in the starting car if you want to see her. So that's the auction items. Don't wait till the last minute to bid. Let's see, raffle. Your gold tickets are for the Porsche lease. It will be here at lunch, give or take today, as will the food bank truck. So if you want to go take a selfie with the Porsche, you can do that. There are alternative prizes. So if you don't want the car, there's a couple of different things. And we'll talk about those tomorrow. But you got a choice of 3 things. One of them even includes cash. And your red tickets are mostly going to be used for people who come back on time after breaks. And we'll draw one. I got little gifts. If we don't have a winner, we'll wait till the next break. Can't name everybody, but want to give a little recognition to some people that are with us. The used to be GKIC, now No BS marketing folks. Those of you in the room, you want to stand up in case people don't know you. We should have Darcy. We should have Nick. Camilla not in the room. Vito is Italian. His last name is Watch Your Wallet Around Vito. And the Advantage folks, Justin, I know is here. Brian, yes, no, no. Adam, yes, no, no. But you guys all know Adam. Adam standing next to Partiv looks like, Shaquille O'Neal standing next to a poodle. Yeah, you're generous. We have the 3 lawyers walk into a bar joke. Larry King used to tell this story about being asked to MC a tribute dinner to the cardinal of a parish and being told, don't ask him to turn up the house lights because there's bent-nosed competitors in the room who don't really like each other and they carry guns, and it's just a good idea if they come and go without. So we have all 3 of the leading coaches, consultants, info marketers to lawyers in the room. For helping all 3 of them, I moved 7 seats closer to the furnace in my afterlife. But they all are here, and they pretend to like each other, but to tell you the truth, so I'm not going to have them stand up. You'll have to find them on your own. I'm sure they are sitting in opposing corners. Although that's more about protection from a lightning strike than it is. I had 2 of them in titanium for a number of years, and Nelson Searcy was with us at the same time, who is to churches, coach, trainer, consultant. Has about 3,600 pastors in his coaching program. And I always made the lawyers sit on either side of Nelson to protect them from a lightning strike, thinking, God might hesitate in case his aim was off just a little. So Nelson was like some protection to these guys. But they are here. Ben Glass, Richard James, and R. John Robbins are really, really smart people. Mentioned Dr. Leonard and Nancy Angels, who are always some of our most generous folks. He did the big sales letter makeover last year. You're welcome to chat with him about it. Where are you guys? Raise hands or stand up so people can see you. There they are. I have these landing strip lights like my GKIC problem. On a break, if you can. It's like a 747 coming in. Good news for you commercial travelers. American announced last week that they are they're adding 10 more seats to the 727s. So there's a little more capacity. You won't have trouble getting on flights. And they're doing this by reconfiguring the bathroom to be 28 in circumference. So if you kind of have a Kardashian ass, you're going to have to stand outside and just back your butt in is what you're apparently going to have to do. Samuel Black and his folks are here. Where are you? Again, one of the most interesting guys in the room. Probably doesn't like having attention called to him. He's one of these billionaire next door guys who just goes about his business, but he's really interesting. Sydney, I mentioned. Sid, you're right there. There's Sydney. Past and present Titanium members, you guys all want to stand as a group if you're here. Penny Crozier, Krista Trantham and Mike Crow, Keith Lee, Uncle Ron LeGrand. I know Ron's here, saw him. Greg Luther, I don't know if Greg made it this morning yet or not. Monica Main, Dr. David Phelps, R. John Robbins, and Richard Jacobs. So we have a bunch of Titanium folks here, especially long lifers. Kevin Fail. Kevin, there you go. Scott Mueller. Scott, good. And I have something I want to ask you about the new death chamber thing. If you see me, you know what I'm talking about, if you see me on a break. It's a new thing in the funeral industry. It's like a pod on top of a coffin, and you get in it, you check out, and you drop out the bottom right into it. I'm deadly serious. Coming soon to a funeral parlor near you. George Platt. I know I saw George. There he is. John Rinaldi. Your head should be shining. Where are you? There you go. With us forever. Harry Williams. Is Harry in the room? Yep. Jesus, another lawyer. We have some copywriters, certified copywriters. Mark Melling. Wherever you are. Carol Parks. Did I miss anybody? There he is. I missed you, huh? So? Yeah, right. So? Who invited you to speak up? We have international people. Where's Jay Emery? I was told the 45 hours from London. You know you had to start in the wrong direction to do that. What the hell did you do? Go over the polar ice cap or what? Oh, my God. I mean, it's like 5.5 hours. It's like L.A., just water, right? Yep. They lose your luggage? Perfect. Just perfect. Were you in first class? No. Oh, better yet. Better yet. Have you ever been on Slovenia's airline?
No, but I would have been faster if I'd flown my paraglider here.
Business class on Slovenia's airline. He's here, by the way, Frank's guy. Just told me his flight was fine. I'm going, oh, shit. See, I was hoping to hear your story from him to make me feel better. Their airline's business class is, I swear to God, it is Southwest worse. I had a middle seat because there's 4 to a row, 3 rows, business class. And the seat in front of you has indents where you put, not lying, where once you get in there, you put your knees. And you stay there for the duration of the flight. But they feed you. So people have they're this wide, tray down. They are handing a shrink-wrapped pile of food over you to the guy next to you. And you are like this. I had food on me from both people when I got off the plane. This is one step from, a person with a chicken on a bus in the Bahamas next to you. This is business class. I didn't go back and look. I assume economy is Ron White's. You get on the plane, they hand you a stick with points at 2 ends. One, you jam up your butt, and the other one, you jam in the ground, and everybody stands next to each other, and off the plane goes. That's my assumption. But, so at least you were on a real plane, but 40 hours, oh my God. You could have taken the bus. I mean, so anybody else here from distant lands? Australia. I can't see. Is there anybody else? Wow. Canada. By the way, we're building a wall, just so you know. Coming for you next. He's gonna piss off Trump one too many times, and we're gonna build a wall. That's what's gonna happen, and Canada's gonna pay for it. That's what's gonna happen. So you have an agenda, which should be on your page 10, and we will be staying with it as best we can. Maybe towards the end of the day, we'll go over it, because for some reason, give me yours. Give me your manual. Thank you. For some reason, I didn't give myself an agenda. So here we are. This will help. So lunch today is one of our sponsored lunches. And the play fair is, don't go eat their food if you're not going to pay attention to their presentation. There are minutes. There's a little break afterwards. You got time to get to the bathroom before you need to be back in here. There's a little bit of time beforehand, so you don't have to cheat the lunch. And if you're not going to pay attention to their presentation, first of all, not very smart. But secondly, don't eat the food. Go forage for yourself. All right? So lunch today is with Adam Whitty. And as I said, the Porsche will be outside, and the food bank truck will be outside. And remember, as you are taking care of silent auction items during lunch and looking at the food bank trunk, and you are eating lunch, remember that not very far down the road there are people going without lunch, little children starving today while you are eating food in the lunchroom with Adam. Feel guilty. Bid on something. This evening's dinner is with Clint Arthur, and we will talk with Clint actually today as well, all about getting famous. And tonight there is a movie night that, again, if you're smart, you won't skip. There are 3 relevant things to see. There will be some snacks, and you will be out of there by 9:20 or so. What do you need to know tomorrow? Tomorrow starts the day with a off mic. We will not be recording it, in case you weren't told, Ron. And Adam is going to take you through the process used at Advantage to sell the $100,000 plus Forbes Books author program, which involves a one-on-one discovery day. And so he's going to give you some inside baseball about that. Before I start, you have lunch with the Siphon ROI guy who is in the midst of the data maelstrom of the moment and won a lawsuit against Cambridge Analytics. So Richard is a really interesting guy, and you will find that to be a real interesting lunch. And that will also be your cutoff for silent auction activity is lunch tomorrow. At the end of the day, we will be doing the drawing for the Porsche or alternative prize, and you got to be here to win. So if you're peeing, when we draw for the Porsche, you are going to feel a lot worse than if you were off peeing when we drew for a book. I just want to warn you. Jim Lang, who's a really good guy, he got down here 2 minutes late to go to the car thing yesterday, and I had sent the bus on its way. I said, well, I'm 2 minutes late. I said, well, yeah, exactly. So he had to Uber over there. So I'm serious. If we draw for the Porsche and you ain't here, we're drawing another ticket. And dinner tomorrow night is with the annoying little Indian, who has some great system stuff. And then the rest of your meeting is in a bar. So if you're dying to be in a bar drinking and you're dying to be in there networking, you don't need to be there tonight during movie night. It'll be open afterwards. And you got tomorrow night loose. And Vicki will be wandering around giving away gold bullion. So you don't want to wander off. And Saturday is lunch with Kim Walsh-Phillips. And, of course, the after party to Northfield afterwards. We can take 5 more to the after party. So if you didn't register and you change your mind and you want to go, you can see Vicki. You will find on probably page 14, courtesy notes. Again, almost everybody's been here. You should know this. But there's some how to behave stuff there. If you don't know it, it would be good to read it. And where's the guy who's got the pass on his phone? Jeffrey, where are you? There you are. Okay. So you're going to see his phone next to him because he's got a 82-year-old mother with hip surgery and et cetera. If the thing flashes, he's going to leave and take a call. For the rest of you, if those things go off, it's a $100 fine, and I ain't kidding. So you at least want to turn the damn things off. There are no cords. There are no screenshots. I will take it away from you. And most of what you will see on the screen is in your manual. If I use a slide that's not in your manual, it has a little big black up in the corner, so you're not looking for it frantically. It's a detour, and we will come back and pick up on the next thing that's on the page in your manual. I promise you, you don't need to be taking screenshots. I was speaking somewhere not long ago. Some of you will appreciate this. And I get introduced, and I come up, and 3 different people have put their devices up here on my table to record the presentation. I spilled the whole pitcher of iced tea. I'm like the clumsiest guy in the world, and then trying to mop it up, I knocked him on the floor, and I stepped on one. I mean, I felt horrible that I was only able to step on one before the other 2 yamooks got up there to grab their soggy phones. Please hurry on breaks because we got a lot of stuff. And we're not going to wait for you. And tight quarters. It will get warmer. Hardly anybody's going to be bitching about it being too cold. So use deodorant. All right? So, the premise is this. See, this one's not in your manual. See this little doodad here? That tells you it's not there. Okay? But if you go to Module 1, if you want to follow along and open up on, what page are you on, Bubba? 15. You'll be where we're going to be shortly. So here's the premise. Most people come to me through what used to be GKIC, now No BS Inner Circle, and in another month, we're going to be able to stop saying that because it's long. But come through that door, or clients come to me because they want a better ad. They want better marketing. And that's what brings them through the door. Three things almost always become apparent. One is they don't need a better ad, and they don't need better marketing, at least not yet. Because their operations are so screwed up and so dysfunctional that if you double the number of leads and double the number of prospects, double the number of people coming through the doors, really you make everything worse, not better. They were barely handling the lead flow and the customer flow they had. And if you double it, actually the handling of everybody is now worse. And or they're so messed up internally that if you double the flow to them, all you do is waste their money because they're not personally equipped to deal with the prosperity that you create. Third, their math sucks. So usually they come with delusions about what they should be spending to generate leads, particularly if they want growth. So part of this conversation today, in today's times, is now all about the low lead costs they have on social media. And so they'll come and they'll have really good results, by the way. It works, right? It generally isn't scalable, and therein lies the problem. So, well, I'm getting leads for 40 cents. And how many can you get? 6 a day. Terrific. Right? And your business is $1 million a year business, and I want to make it a $10 million a year business. Got bad news for you. You can't do that with 40-cent leads. We can't do that with $4 leads. We can't even do it with $40 leads. So their math is terrible because all their back math is predicated on low front-end marketing costs. So literally when we change math, and it's very ironic because I was god-awful at math in school, hated it. Paid people to do it for me, paid people to take tests for me, and I had 2 complicit teachers who let that happen. One I attended bar for on weekends illegally, and the other one, my algebra guy, I sponsored in my Amway downline. So he let a girl I paid $50 take my algebra test for me, and guaranteed me a C as long as I promised not to engage in any career that involved math. That was, and it turns out he'd be disappointed because all marketing is math and behavioral psych. That's what it is. And we like the behavioral psych part And we're going to talk a lot about the behavioral psych part in the next 3 days. But the math is really important. So when you change the math in somebody's life, you change their life. When you change what they can pay, right? So Adam will tell you tomorrow, by going from just being able to offer the Advantage portfolio of publishing at around a $30,000 price to being able to offer the Forbes portfolio at around a $100,000 price, it changed everything. So price, profit margin, customer value, customer retention, customer ascension, all that stuff, right, changes. And then the way you have to live your life, what you have to do, all of that changes. I'm going to get to Ari probably on Saturday, but Ari changed his whole business so that his prospects, when they come to his group meeting now, he pays for their airfare, their hotel, their meals. He's putting them in a class joint, not one like this. He's feeding them good food, right? And what'd you just tell me, 17? And what'd you close? Half. At how much? Yeah. So 17 divided by half is 8.5. I don't know how you manage that, but probably had a short guy. Yeah. At $250,000 apiece, well, you can afford to pay their airfare. I have a client who sends his plane to get them. That's your next step. Right? So you change like everything, right? So our subject about moving up in who you sell to automatically allows you to change your math. And it is so obvious, you have to ask yourself why more businesses don't move up in customer and client. So there's a guy, it's such ancient history now, so you almost have to be in direct selling to even know the name or story, but it's a guy by the name of Glenn Turner, and in the 70s, Glenn was a big deal. There was a company called Coscott and a company called Dare to Be Great, and they went from 0 to 410,000 distributors in 36 months, and this is pre-internet. This is doing it the hard way, which was significant. And Glenn was interesting for a number of reasons, including the fact that he had a pretty severe speech handicap. He had hair lip and poor kid, so never got the dental surgery he needed. And so Glenn, I used to be able to do it really well. Glenn sounded, or on the tapes. And so it took you about an hour with a cassette tape before your brain rewired itself to really be able to get the full value out of them. And so Glenn started as a sewing machine salesman, which used to be a door-to-door, sewing machines, vacuum cleaners, fire alarms, pots and pans. Zig was a pot and pan guy. So Glenn, and by the way, there's a lineage there that a lot of people don't know. They all kind of came from the same place, by the way. Zig, Rones, Earl Schoaf, Glenn Turner, Werner Erhard of Est. They all sat in the same room in the same chairs at Holiday Magic Mind Dynamics seminars. A lot of people don't know that. Zig didn't like talking about it, and it's trivial. But so Zig started, Glenn started as a sewing machine salesman. And he went into real poor neighborhoods to sell $800 sewing machines. And after I'd heard the story about 5 times, I said to him, I said, I had a list of questions at lunch. Like if you were going to go with Warren Buffett, you'd make a list of questions, right? So first time I had lunch with him, I had a list of questions. And I said, why didn't you go sell sewing machines in better neighborhoods? He said, I didn't think anybody would accept me in a better neighborhood. Well, that's the truth of why most business owners don't sell up. It's because they see a gap between who they are and these people who they would go sell to. So when I say when people come to me for better ads, better marketing, but we find out they got math problems, they got operations problems, and they got head problems. Even people doing real well, seven-figure earners, they got head problems. Why aren't they selling to billionaires? Well, because they see this gap. So I wanted to take a few minutes before we really got going to talk about what I talk about privately a lot, is the importance of not being in awe of like anybody. One of the highest income clients that came and visited me 3 times a year for a number of years, 2 out of every 3 occasions. Now, you would think once would be enough. He would walk through the screen door on the front of the house. Either coming in or leaving, he would just ruin my screen door by walking through it. Just, his mind is somewhere else. George Douglas, a guy who was multimillionaire, his wife went to every seminar, everywhere with him, because George would take his shoes off on the shuttle bus and forget them and have no shoes. He traveled with 12 pair of eyeglasses, and he would lose them all by the time he was going home. He was just like out of it. But he made a ton of money. I'm sure if we could spend a week with Warren Buffett, there would be something Buffett does that we would all be going, I can't even believe it. I mean, you guys are all smart, and you're putting your half of the fucking ticket in the thing. I mean, really, right? You can't be in awe of anybody. Being in Amway in high school was a really instructive experience for me because everybody I sponsored was an adult, 40, 50 years old, with a house and a business and or a job and a family. And you quickly realize these people could not be depended on for the most basic things about that business. Like, so I sponsored this guy, he owned the Dunhill Personnel franchise for Northeastern Ohio. Temp agencies and job placement thing, huge house in Shaker Heights, rich, this guy. Right? Get to his house for his first living room meeting. Miraculously, there's 12 guests there, which never happens. There's like, they invite everybody and nobody comes. Everybody finds out they really have no friends. But there's 12 people there. At the appointed time, 6:30 at night, all standing out in his front yard because he ain't there. And he forgot to come home for his own meeting. I'm thinking to myself, I got an idiot on my hands. I'm 17. I'm here. They're here. So I kind of got over awe real early about anybody. But a lot of people stay stuck there. And they don't sell up because they are, admit it or not, intimidated. So let's just talk about how stupid rich people are. So there's a thing called the Black Box Con. The terminology for it dates to the turn of the century. Right? So it's often what's called a long con, meaning it takes a long time to develop before people are separated from their money. It's not like the pigeon drop con that is done to stupid people at the bar and you drop the wallet and it's a longer con. And the premise of the Black Box Con, which is as old as the turn of the century, and gets repeated over and over and over and over again is there's something miraculous happening inside the box. You aren't allowed to see in the box, and you invest in the thing that is happening. So the well-established rule that everybody ought to know is if you can't see in the box, it's a con. So Thomas Edison ran black box cons. Right? Edison was more a money raiser and a promoter than he really was an inventor. Right? And 8 out of 10 things he raised money for never materialized and were never intended to materialize. He just needed a lot of money. And now he moved the money over to the invention that actually worked. So Edison never had go to jail kind of problems. But he ran black box cons all the time. Called a big group of people together, the media came, and he trotted out something that turned water into gasoline or some deal like that. People used to travel the country and like medicine men and set up shop and do black box cons in communities. The magician box that you feed a sheet of paper into and a dollar bill comes out the other end. And they would raise money from people, rubes in the small town of America, to manufacture the boxes that turn paper into money. So about 5 years ago, well, first of all, understand Madoff was a black box con. That's what it was. It all happened on the 5th floor. Nobody was allowed to go see what was going on the 5th floor. There was a secret formula that generated consistent positive investment returns every month, never a down month, never a dip, let alone a loss, and you never got an explanation of how that could be. That's called a black box con. The 5th floor was the black box. And Madoff's investors were all smart and mostly rich people and managers of rich people's money. He wasn't running a Ponzi scam out with, people giving him $500. He was doing this with rich people. That's what it was. When I asked my friend Joan Rivers if she lost money to Madoff, she said, I'm the only Jew in New York who didn't. So I'm the only rich Jew in New York who didn't. Because Joan had an anti-black box rule after she got ripped off once. If you can't explain it to me on a napkin and I don't understand how the money's being made, I'm not interested. All right? So this black box con takes money from rich people all the time. If you, on your own time, go Google, Wikipedia, whatever the hell you got to do, the Homestake oil swindle. It's very instructive. It was a black box con. The U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, big investor. President of Citibank at the time, big investor. Bob Hope, big investor. The list is enormous of people who should have known better. They put them in helicopters, I swear to Christ, and they flew them over a piece of the desert with pink pipes, purple pipes, blue pipes, yellow pipes, plastic pipes, coming up out of the ground, intersecting, and going back in the ground. And they flew them over this in a helicopter and told them how they could get this oil, and they had this process to 10 times its quantity with synthetics, thereby being able to make 10 times more money than anybody else on oil. They flew them over an idiot black box. There's a story in the book about how one guy insisted on landing to see the oil, and they had to rig pumps at each end of the pipes, go get oil cans of oil from the gas station, and dump them in the pipes and punch a hole in the pipe so the oil would pipe out the side, which satisfied this moron, who then got back in the helicopter and flew home. So several years ago, and I called it this early. Now it's known. There's a book about it. If you followed the Theranos story at all. Theranos. Theranos, if you want to Google it later. She, the woman entrepreneur of Theranos, was on the front cover of Forbes, heralded in the walls, just the hero of the century, like Michael Milliken was when he invented junk bonds and then went to jail eventually for the junk bonds. Elizabeth, now I can't think of her name. Do you know her name? Huh? Holmes, thank you very much. Elizabeth Holmes, deliberately dressed kind of Steve Jobsy. Black turtleneck, black jacket, blonde hair, very articulate. Started this company called Theranos, which had a magic black box that would change lab testing for all sorts of diseases forever. Kill all the costs, make it easier, faster, quicker, etc., etc. The Walmart family, all of Sam's heirs, invested $150 million. The DeVos family, Betsy DeVos, Secretary of Education from Rich and Jay, Amway, $100 million. All told, this is in the 20 billion up range. Nobody's completely sure yet. Right? It's a Silicon Valley startup, so that helps it a lot because rich people are really stupid now about Silicon Valley startups. Think about it, $100 million. And here's what this does, but you can't see in the box to see how it does it. You can't come to the lab where we use the black box and see us do it. Why? Because the lab was full of the currently used equipment. All the tests were done like they're done all the time, because this thing doesn't do shit. In fact, it generates false positives like there's no tomorrow. So not only did she take billions of dollars from people, they were doing some tests with this thing and sending them out and spooking some people and killing a few others. And nobody insisted on seeing Harvard University's medical endowment fund is in for $50 million for a black box con. To my knowledge, Buffett's never been taken by one. To my knowledge, Trump has never been taken by one. But a lot of rich people have been taken by one. Some rich people by more than one. Some of the same people who lost money to Madoff put money in Theranos. You cannot be intimidated by these people. They are really smart about some things. That's how they got the money. That doesn't mean they're smart about a lot of things. It does not mean they're smart about what you're smart about. They're definitely not any better than you are. And you cannot afford to have in your head at all that they are. When I had my ad agency in 1974, one of the biggest ad agencies in Akron, which is, I know, the world's tallest midget, but nonetheless, big deal in our market. The president had me come over on a Saturday to talk about doing business together. And he is mowing the lawn in front of his office building himself. Strike one. I'm thinking, uh-oh. You know, I'm like a year out of high school. I'm thinking, uh-oh. another idiot, who somehow is wound up with an ad agency, the biggest in the city. But really, you're having an important meeting and you're out mowing your own lawn, which back then you could hire kids to do that. Now you can't. So you'd have an excuse. Now you got to get a goat. But, well, you tether it, you move it, you tether it, you move it. So you can't get a kid now, you know. They want $38 an hour and they need Fridays off, and, you know. So you got to have that conversation before you. How many millennials does it take to change a light bulb? None. They live at home. They just put it on the list for mom. So he's out cutting his own grass, right? This is mistake number one, with a walk-behind mower. Wheel comes loose while we're talking. He takes the mower, dragging it all the way to the back of the building where the janitor has a little, closet thing, and there's tools to get a wrench to tighten the wheel on the mower. Going and getting a wrench and bringing it to the mower would seem to be a lot easier than taking the mower to the wrench and bringing the mower back all the way to the front of the building. We had a very short meeting. I got in my car and I left because this guy's too dumb to even do business with. But this is my experience with all kinds of rich people. I go, really? Now, they had to be really smart about something. But often, it's a really narrow something. Right? And overall, they can't get out of their own way. So it is really important when you make a decision to sell up, especially significantly up from where you may be at the moment, not to be in awe of anybody in any way. So we will now go to work on page 15. So why are we here? We're here so that you can make decisions about and more effectively somehow sell up. Now, I'm conversationally conflating highest value customer, client, patient, or donor with affluent. And that's sloppy. So you will have to keep making kind of adjustments in your head. Your highest value customer, client, patient, or donor might not necessarily be ultra rich or rich. They might be mass affluent. It's not necessarily he who has the most money in the bank is your best customer, client, or patient. So understand I've conversationally conflated it so we don't have to do 6 days. But you have to make nuanced judgments about it as you go along. But one way or another, so that you will go home and start to sell up. If not in toto, with at least part of your business. We're going to talk about Disney 5 or 6 times during the 3 days. And look, they still have a bottom of their pyramid. Okay? They got rank and file, mom and pop, who have to save up for 10 years to come for their Disney vacation. But they got an awful lot of selling up going on. In the last 10 years, well, really since Eisner, Iger's put sell up on steroids. There's like no end to it. And the reasons for this have a lot to do with what's going on in the economy around us. So, a little doohickey, detour, we'll come back. Okay? My last time I'll tell you. So, once upon a time, we lived in an economy of scarcity. And the smaller the town you lived in, the more this was true. But generally speaking, we all did business with most things locally, not nationally, not even regionally, not globally. We did business locally. And there were only so many of each thing local. People made decisions about where am I going to go open a practice, for example, based on how many practices there are already there. Okay, that town won't support another one. I got to go someplace else. So there was an economy of scarcity. So first of all, in many cases, businesses could do well by being there. A lot more wasn't asked of them. Even on a national level, so when I first started flying on business, I think there were 5 airlines in the whole, that's all there was. So they could all be equally crappy. And really, what are you going to do about it? You used to get off the freeway, and there'd be like 3 motels. That's it. If you were a traveling sales guy, you had a Holiday Inn, you had a something else, and you had a Motel 6. That's what you had. The Holiday Inn was the only one that had a bar. So if you were a big drinker like I was, you stayed in the Motel 6, so you had more money for the bar at the Holiday Inn, right? But that's all there was. That's it. Those are your choices. So we lived in this economy of scarcity where, candidly, you didn't have to be real good. You kind of just had to be there. Then we moved into this economy of abundance and diversity, of massively expanding choices, in part because we became willing and able to do business inside a bigger circle than before. Now we operate in this economy of excess abundance and diversity. There's too much of everything. Between here, so there's a bunch of office buildings around here, right? And there's these hotels. Still, between here and the hill that you go down to go to my house, or that you will go down when you go to the trip Saturday, can't be but a couple of miles. If you were up to speed and you ran out of gas, you could coast. There are 15 sub-sandwich places. You name the national brand, they're there, plus some locals. How many friggin' sub-sandwich places can this handle? Well, but that's where we are with everything. And it ain't just local, right? So if I don't want to stop at any of those, and I have a device, I could order from one close to my house, which is only 15 minutes from here, and have Grubhub meet me at my house when I got there. Now with pizza, I don't even have to go home. I can go sit in the park as a degenerate child predator and watch children on the playground, and Domino's will bring me a pizza right there to the child predator bench. It's one of their 500 apps places. Well, you've all seen that, right? Great for a Domino's driver. We're now going to deliver pizza at 9 o'clock at night to the third tree from the left in a park with no way of identifying afterwards who robbed us. Great, brilliant, good job. So, but think about it. There's this excess of choice now. And companies that did very well here are gone. Companies that did really well even here are finding it very hard to deal with this. Vitamix. Anybody own a Vitamix? Okay? Look around. You learn more from looking around than looking at me. Okay? There's a bunch of people raise their hand. What's a Vitamix sell for? $400, 500. Right? What did it sell for 10 years ago? Anybody know? $1,000. Same unit, actually better, a little, but $1,000. Right? What did it sell for 20 years ago? Anybody know? 20 years ago, $1,500. Because a sales guy came, spent 2 hours in your house, and sold it to you. Now it's $400, and they're struggling because there used to be Vitamix and a couple others. Then there was Vitamix and some lessers. Now there's Vitamix and 500 choices. And you can take a picture of the Vitamix, right? And Amazon will show you 5 with the prices and have one at your door tomorrow, if not today, or you can pick it up at Whole Foods when you go get your, organic soy pickle, which is $9, by the way. So we're in a mess, right? The rank and file consumer has such abundant choice against virtually anything any of us do. So somebody was asking me beforehand out on a patio about filling seats, right? And, we're very fortunate with this thing. 30 to 40% of next year's will be full before we all leave. We're at 70% by the end of the calendar year, and pretty much then we're just dealing with 10, 15 seats that we got to fill. But look, overall, the filling the seats business for anybody, has gotten really tough. Circus is dead. Bowling alleys are dying. Country clubs are dying. The golf business is off by 30% in the United States. 30%. And it is a trend that is not their friend. All right? Well, because the rank and file people can play golf at home with their Wii machine. And it's pretty damn good. Or they'll go to Dave & Buster's. I watch my son-in-law. They all get together and they play golf in the basement. Why pay country club money? So there's choice like in all these categories that make it hard to get people to get in a car or get in an airplane and go anywhere. When they rarely pan it, take a look at the baseball stadiums. Even of teams in contention. Tex Schramm, who used to own the Dallas Cowboys eons ago, Tex said there will be a day where we will play these games with no audience in a broadcast studio, not a stadium, because there will be no reason for anybody to come and no desire of anybody to come. Now, he said that, 30 years ago, maybe. Like most predictions, he will eventually be right. You aren't going to be able to pry people out of their house to go to a game. I see it with my grandkids. It's like, we don't want to go anywhere. Just leave us all sit here in these 8 corners with our little doohickeys. We're happy. And if you do drag them somewhere, what do? They sit in the corner with their little doohickey. I took 3 of them to a Cavs game, which I hate the Cavs, and I don't like going to games myself. So to make it as painless as possible, I rented a suite and, whatever. And I had to forcibly take these things away from them. I said, I am not spending $12,000 for this suite for you to watch this big dummy who won't rebound and won't play defense and whines and pisses and moans and, you are going to sit there and you are going to watch them. That's what you're going to do, right? But left to their own devices, they'd have been in their devices because there's more choice there. There's unlimited choice. When you go somewhere, you've narrowed everything to one choice. Robin Robbins will tell you her problem with seminars is they pay. They come, and then they won't come down out of their rooms. They come down for the food breaks and go back up to their rooms. They're young IT people, and they don't want to get out of their yoga pants. And they got choices up there. So if they get bored, they got 5 devices. They got all choices. Down here in the room, they got one stinking choice. They don't like being in that position. So what's your solution? Higher value and usually more affluent customers. They behave different than the rank and file. Now, in some respects, it's ironic because the more affluent the customer, and typically the more value the customer, the more choices he has, right? The only reason you didn't buy, those of you that went to the car place, most of you, the only reason you didn't buy a car is because you didn't want one. You got the money. There's something over there you could have bought. Maybe not the $4 million car. If your spouse isn't with you, that's a tough one to explain when you take home. I swore I wouldn't spend any money at the seminar, and I didn't, but vroom, vroom. What's the payment? It's only $62,000 a month. So when you see that on the MasterCard statement, honey, it's that red thing out in the parking lot that you can't get into and doesn't have any cup holders. That's what it is. What did Ben Glass tell me? Because, you know, Ben's got 48 kids. You know, he just shrunk his car to a minivan. So congratulations, right? So, look, they have more choices. However, the more affluent they are, the easier it is to maneuver them into a position where they have no choice whatsoever. This is a really good reason to set your sights on them. Because their behavior is largely about finding the best alternative of all the alternatives. So if you can make yourself the best alternative of all the alternatives, you leave them no choice. The low-value, non-affluent customer now has more choices than ever before and is not very discriminating about the choices they make. They go see the movie that starts at 8:10. I'll go see 3 movies a year. It's got to be something I really want to see 3 weeks earlier than I can get it any other way, or I want to have the big screen experience. I deliberately picked the movie. I don't, Friday night, let's go, what do you want to do? Oh, let's go see a movie. Well, that's how normal people behave. I got a plane. You know, I don't got to go to the movies. I can go all sorts of places, right? But you can maneuver me into a position with all sorts of goods and services where really I only have one choice because I want the best. So when we talk about the economy, there actually is no such thing, first of all, as the economy. Nobody really lives in the economy. Nobody really spends in the economy. They spend in their economy. That's where people spend money. So first of all is geography. Economies vary a lot, right? A client of mine, Marty Fort, between his coaching business and his 2 music schools, he's in the $4 million a year neighborhood in Columbia, South Carolina. That's like $40 million if you live in Manhattan. If you made $40 million a year and you lived in Columbia, South Carolina, what the hell would you do with it? After you bought Columbia, I'm serious, you'd have to have a plane, because to spend it, you got to go someplace. Early in my business career, first bank loan I got was from a guy who owned a bank in a really small town, southern part of Ohio, just north of Steubenville. And the bank's closed on Wednesdays, but he said, come on down anyway, we'll have lunch, and if I'm going to give you the loan, I'll open the bank and I'll just write you a check. And they'll clean up the paperwork later. So we had lunch in the diner he owns, and he showed me the hardware store he owns, and the auto repair place he owns, and the coal mine he owned, and we went to the bank he owned, which is in the building with the post office he leases space to, and he wrote me out a check. Well, the guy's rich, and he likes that town. After he bought the whole town, he still got money left. If he lived in Marin, he'd be poor. Same money. So geography matters a lot. I mean, look, if you live in La Jolla, you can own and drive, and you want to be seen in a $400,000 Bentley. If you live where I live here, this is not a good thing. Right? I mean, I can afford one, but every once in a while, the Rolls is here today, by the way, if you want to take a picture with the Rolls, too, the D. Martin Rolls. I do drive it over to the track, back to the barn area every once in a while. But early on, the first time I did it, I didn't really give it any thought. You know, it's just, I like driving it. It's not going to rain. I'm going to drive it. I just got it. And you would know him, John Perrin. Nobody else in the room, I think, would know him. But John says to me, you really ought to replace that wing lady hood ornament with a giant third finger, because that, you know, is really what you're doing with this car. I said, oh, okay. It hadn't occurred to me, but it is a little inappropriate, isn't it? So local, regional makes all the difference in the world, right? Industry, profession. Every industry has its own economy. Every profession has its own economy. Some are doing really, really well. Some are not doing very well at all. Some are contracting. Some are being really commoditized and price oppressed. Some aren't. Wall Street, Main Street, these are for the most part two different economies. Even though 2/3 of America is now invested, most of them are invested through 401ks and retirement pension accounts and stuff. They don't even know what they own. These are two separate economies. Main Street in your town or mine is very disconnected from Wall Street. Silicon Valley and everybody else, right? They have entirely their own economy, nearly to the point of revolt of the peasants, which is also pretty satiric and ironic, that the people who are most likely to be torched and eaten first are going to be all the liberals in Silicon Valley. You know, they surround the Google buses and throw bricks at them and stuff, and because Google sends buses around to pick everybody up and take them to work, because otherwise the people who work at Google wouldn't be able to find their way to work, so they send buses to get them. Well, seriously, why do you think Zuckerberg's building his own city? Because they wander off and they can't find their way back. So if we just keep them here, we'll be able to make them work, right? But so they're almost to the point of revolt of the peasants. They had it in Seattle, you know, they passed that. We're going to tax $500 for every job to be able to tax Amazon and Starbucks. To the business's credit, what, it lasted 2 weeks? 2 weeks. They undid it this week because Bezos said, the hell you are. That's how Rockefeller used to operate. So some business guys are actually finding testicles. It's been a while. I'm actually happy to see it. But so there's that economy over there, and then there's everybody else's economy. There's established emerging, there's short-term, long-term, et cetera, et cetera. But the most important one is personal. When Tip O'Neill said all politics is local, all economies are really personal. So I joke about Carla all the time. Okay? To my gain, and maybe her credit, she has never really adjusted to being rich. So she will still do poor people stuff, has routine. It saves me a lot of money, by the way, but at times it is frustrating. Like she will go spend a day at the mall and come home with nothing. I'm going, what the hell is that about? I thought you wanted new shoes. Well, I did. Well, I don't see any shoes. That mall is the size of New Jersey. Okay? There had to be shoes. Well, the only ones I liked were really expensive. I'm going, good taste? Dumb, right? What difference does that make? I mean, we literally have, I joke about it, but it is true. And she's gone this week, so out it all went. Our refrigerator drawer is full, I mean full, of salad dressing bottles turned upside down so that the last few globs trickle down to the end. Then she will put these out on the table. The only way you are getting salad dressing, you put some lettuce in your mouth, and then you squeeze the bottle. That's it. That's your only hope. Right? And there's like 30 of these in the refrigerator. Like 5,000 islands, each with 3 drops left in them. I'm going, so I throw them all out, restock the thing while she's gone with full bottles of everything, like a rich person. Yeah. And about a month later, I'll open it up. In the freezer, there's like 1 dinner roll wrapped in foil. What are you going to do with 1 dinner roll? I mean, what? You're never going to defrost that thing. It's going to be in there till the death of the refrigerator. All right? Going, just throw it out. No, we're not throwing out food. See, so she has, this is very important to understand, she has a personal economy. Now, there's some things for which price is no object and is not a thought, as there is with almost all affluent people. This would include grandkids, right? If she could get away with it, they'd all have yachts. The kid would be heading off to Virginia Tech on a yacht. That's what would be happening with an assistant to take care of him and a shrink to be with him at all times. There'd be an entourage managing this child. Okay? So everybody's got stuff. We all do. It might be your hobby. It might be your obsession. It might be your kids. It might be your spouse. It might be, I got horses. And the behavior and the money is inexcusable. It is indefensible. You can't explain it. Everybody's got something. And I've got 3 of them retired that don't go through new vocations. One's too old, and one is kind of so crazy he probably will not readjust. And so they're all literally out to pasture. You remember that phrase. It cost me $1,200 a month to have them out to pasture. It's $15,000 a year for them to do nothing but eat. They eat now. That's what they do. What do you do every day? Eat. They're exactly like my dog. They get up in the morning, they eat, they take a nap, they wake up, they eat, they take a nap, and I write a check. Mm-hmm. And they're all going to live to be 80. I can see it coming. I got a thoroughbred mare in Kentucky, and she costs more because she's a thoroughbred, and she's at a fancy pants place in Kentucky. She's retired. She costs $460 a month herself. She's 32 years old. I want you to know, for a horse, this is the only way they live longer is if you get one named after your wife. That horse will live to be 100, and you'll be writing that check forever, right? I mean, finally, you know, it's so arthritic it can't move. Dear, we're going to put it to sleep. No, it's named after me. Oh, okay. Well, hire 2 people to carry it around. That's what we're going to do, right? It might be your pet. For some of you, it's your pet. I ain't kidding about the $1 million dog. With each passing year, the little monster's more expensive and grumpier, right? So she's less cute with each passing year, but the tab goes up. How does this formula make any sense whatsoever? But it, you know, it's now 4 medications and 3 times a day. You know, you can't put her in there. Even the high-end kennel, you got to hire an extra person to make sure she gets the medication. Like hiring, you know, an extra nurse to watch over you while you're in the hospital, which, by the way, if you don't do that, not smart, because they will kill you. So your economy, everybody's economy is a very personal economy. Assuming they have the ability to spend, they will spend weirdly, liberally on one thing, and miserly on another. So it's very important to find people who will spend liberally on what you sell, not miserly on what you sell. So it's not just, are they rich? So your highest value customer will be somebody for whom what you sell is a highest value to them. The thing they don't ask about, price about. So that's personal economy. Generally speaking, though, we happen to be in a really good economy right now, in case you haven't noticed. It's so good, most Democrats are even having a trouble denying it. Now, they are crediting it to bees breeding in India, but they're having a hard time denying it. Pelosi, a notable exception. She actually said 2 days ago, honest to God, we have to win these midterm elections so we can restore consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is right now at the highest point it has been measured at in 23 years. Pelosi, who would criticize Trump for being delusional and being a little loose with the facts, is clearly delusional and loose with the facts. Right? So right now, it's hard to argue this economy is bad. There's a lot of jobs. More jobs than there are people to fill them. In fact, that's one of the things that's actually bad about the economy, which I'll get to. But if somebody wants to work, they can work. And they're not all crap jobs. Consumer confidence is at an all-time high. Business investments at an all-time high. Yada, 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 yada. Regulations are getting wiped out, left and right. Everything you would want in an economy is here. Right? But again, that only matters to you in connection to the person for whom what you do has high value. Because people live in their own personal economy, not in the good economy. But there is more money moving around than there has been in quite some time. So if you're running around with a bucket to grab some money, there's more money moving around right now than there has been in quite some time. It's like loose again. So businesses that were having trouble at retail are suddenly doing okay again. Now, there is some bad stuff. So if you want to worry about stuff, there's stuff to worry about. So there is now a workers' market, right, which causes wage inflation. Businesses have to pay more to get anything but irrelevant workers. Otherwise, it's a competition for talent. In many categories, they're being treated like athletes. Right? Nurses are getting signing bonuses. Truck drivers are getting signing bonuses. It's a competition which will force up wages and will accelerate automation, which will ultimately flip the switch backwards on jobs for everybody. Because the higher the wage cost, the more we want a machine. Right? Consumer debt bubbles, they're huge. The car bubble is now what the real estate bubble was before 2008. Subprime loans are the norm in the auto business. They're not shy about it either. They advertise it. There's a big dealer here. Their current TV commercial is, if you make $300 a week, we'll finance you in a new car. There's a guy who shovels shit for us in the barn. He shovels shit. This is his job. Right? He went in to buy a used car. They leased him a brand new Ford Fusion. The payment is 50% of his income. You think that lease is going to go the distance? No. So there's a huge car bubble. And they've done the same shit with these loans they did with the real estate loans. They sell them off. Goldman Sachs takes them apart, stitches pieces of them back together, and sells them to investors, just like they did with real estate. Except this is for a thing that rusts and has 4 tires on it. Not a house. Not a piece of a house. These things have pieces of car loans in them. Really? And of course, Goldman's on both sides of the deal. Credit card bubble, huge. College loan bubble, huge. Stock market affects more people than ever. Therefore, the panic will happen easier than ever. When this thing drops like 4,000 or 5,000 points in a week, it'll be worse than when it did that the last time. Harder to stop. Because more and more people are in there who don't want to be in there, shouldn't be in there, don't have the knowledge or the gut to be in there. They are there because there's been no yield. So grandma, instead of having her money down at the savings and loan, has got it in the stock that cannot fail, GM. Well, seriously. Political economy. So the political economy is high hazard, right? There's all sorts of stuff that could tilt the whole economy. First of all, he could lose in 2020. And regardless of what you think of him, you go do a little bit of research on their clown car, because they're going to look like Republicans did. It's going to be like 22 candidates in the primaries. Everybody's going to be there. It's like the hit parade of 70-year-old liberal morons. So Gore, probably, Kerry, Hillary, they're all going to be there again. Because they won't leave, in case you haven't noticed. None of them. They won't leave. Our guys won't either. Nobody will leave. They will not leave. It's like, go home. You know, you're 90. I I can still manage to crawl to the trough and stick my nose in it. I ain't going anywhere. I'm not leaving. Go research any one of them and see what's going to happen if they get their hands on the economy. It's going to look just like it did 2 years ago. That's what it's going to look like real quick. Well, they're telling you. They'll undo the tax cuts. They'll put new taxes on the rich. They'll put all the regulations back. So farmers can't farm, and miners can't mine, and truckers can't truck, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the political economy. The whole North Korea thing could go south, and he could blow something up. Well, that would affect the economy. He could blow up South Korea. It would still affect the economy. All the stores that sell television sets, they'd be out of business. We'd have no TVs if you blew up South Korea. So the article on your next page summarizes some of the good and bad. Obviously, you can read it on your own period of time. I'll give you one other yin-yang, very current. So as of 2016, the median net worth of those born in the 80s was 34% lower than what past trends would predict for that group. So that group's got 34% less money than they're supposed to have. And remember, our whole system is predicated on what each group is supposed to have and do as they reach a certain age. Our entire economy is based on those mathematical, statistical assumptions. So they're 34% short. Those born in the 70s, the Gen Xers, are 18% short. 160,000 or so wealthiest American families, the top 0.1%, hold 22% of America's wealth, which is up 10% from 10 years ago. Money's moving up. So if we aren't moving up, we will be moving down. You need to understand that every population, every group, every no matter what they are, where you get them from, how you put them together, they form a pyramid. It's what people do. So a guy who's here for the first time and is here for all the right reasons and is diligent and is a worker, he said, I don't understand why everybody wouldn't already be in there in their seats waiting for you to start. I said, because every group is a pyramid. So this group, as good as they are, there's 1% of this room that is like superstar. They're going to take good notes. They're not going to be on their device. They're going to go home. They're going to implement 100 things. They're going to be in their chair, ready to go. There's another 4% who are going to be good. There's another 15% who are going to be barely okay. And then there's going to be a precipitous drop to the rest of them. Up till 3 in the morning, big hangover, late getting here, can't focus, came for Alibis Are Us, and are going to be up in the room having sex with the secretary. The Cairo days, that was, we jokingly called our whole seminar company that. We were Alibis Are Us, because like 300 got there and all signed in, and then there were 100 in the seminar for the rest of the 3 days. Everybody else was at the pool with their chiropractic assistant. That's where they were. Right? Since we charge a lot of money, we didn't really care. But so pyramids. So the money pyramid never changes. Who's where changes, obviously. You used to be in one place on it. You're probably on a different place in it now. I used to be at the bottom. I'm near the top. But the percentages haven't changed. With all the technology, all the access to information, all the barriers removed, same. 1% rich. 1% of the 1%, super rich. 160,000 families in the entire United States, super rich. You could gather them all for a University of Alabama game. That's how few there are. 1% rich, 4% affluent. Technical definition is a household income in 6 figures, a net worth in mid-6 figures. 60% are price-sensitive buyers. And a high percentage of the money they spend is on necessities. And 20% of them are dead broke. They're always going to be dead broke. Now, similar pyramids exist in every population. Take small business owners. I learned a long time ago that any assumption of universal ambition is utterly erroneous. So 1% have high income, they have net worth, and they have what I call honest ambition. Meaning what they say about what they want to do is matched by their behavior in trying to do it. Somebody says they want to be wealthy, and you go to their home, and you can't find 10 books about investing. You know that what they say is not matched by their behavior. That's dishonest ambition. Your kid says he wants to be an astronaut, but all the posters in his bedroom are TNA posters from the Spencer gift store. No, he's not really committed at this point to being an astronaut. He has something else on his mind. That's his honest ambition. Now, he may evolve, but 4% have above par income and honest ambition. 15% have a very average income. And for all of us, those of us in the room who sell to business owners, we all tend to overestimate the average income of the people in our niche. Or we tend to overestimate the average income of the people in another niche, feeling that we're in a bad niche, and oh boy, if we were only over there, everything would be better. And then the rest of them are pretty much worthless. All right? Every group, collectors, buyers who collect things, art, coins, cars. 1% are rabid about the whole category. If it's got wheels and I don't have one yet, I want one. That's Leno. All right? If it has wheels and I don't have one yet, I want one. He's rabid about the entire category, and price is no object. 4% are rabid within the category, but they have preferences. Price is no object. 15% are rabid within the category, but price starts to be a consideration. You know, when I bought the Dean Martin Rolls Royce, I don't know what the price quoted was less than my number. But there would have been a number. I don't know what it would have been, but they were well beneath it. Happens all the time. So what should you do about this? Get a piece of paper, make the pyramid of your customers. Figure out who is in the 1%. What behaviors do they have in common? What desires do they have in common? What affinities do they have in common? So like here in collectors, okay, so I am a 15%er in rare books. I don't care about the whole category. I'm only interested in certain things. They're relatively narrow, and yeah, price matters. How much I already own affects what I'll pay to get more. So from their standpoint, I am a declining in value customer not a growing in value customer, because I already got a lot of every category I'm interested in. So I own a lot of Ayn Rand stuff. So up comes Ayn Rand's signed autographed manuscript from 1962 for her LA Times column. Okay, I stop, I look at the page. Oh, I'm interested in Ayn Rand, rare stuff. It's $27.5. I don't want it that bad. I already got a bunch of Ayn Rand stuff. But $7,500, I'd have bought it in a shot. So for them, I'm actually now a high-value customer in decline, because price becomes more and more a consideration, because I already got a lot of stuff in every category that interests me. So you got to go and sit down, and you got to make your pyramid. Who's here? What is true about them that will help us find them and get them and sell to them? Who's here? Who's here? And who's here? And what can we do to spend as little time and energy as humanly possible with any of these people? We're not doing social work here. We're about getting money. So the less of these people who are around, the better off we are. You have additional resources in there which you can do at your leisure. Let's see where I'm supposed to be. Where am I supposed to be, people? Okay. So here's some advice I've recently, see the little doohickey? Okay, it's not in your notes. We'll come back. So here's some advice I've recently been giving to financial advisors. It's specific, and yet it really applies to just about everybody in this context. Households with $1 million of investable assets have grown year to year, every year since 2010. All right? However, here's the stats in the United States. 1 million to 5 million, there's 11 million people. 5 million to 10 million, there's 1.3 million. 10 million and up, there's only 875,000 households in the whole country that are there. Generally speaking, here's mass affluent, there's 11 million of them. Here's affluent, there's 1 million of them. And here's high affluence, 875,000. That's it. That's all there is. If you divide that out over all the cities and suburbs and burgs, all the markets, if you are local, uh-oh, was that you? Who? You might as well confess, or I just find everybody in the row. Who was it? Come on. Who was it? Raise your hand nice and proud. Oh, she just ratted you out, by the way. No. She ratted you out. Your companion there ratted you out. You may make a donation at any time you would like at Vicky's desk, but we do expect a donation. No passes for anybody. And if you don't, I'm going to send him after you. Which I promise you, he don't look really scary, and he's not. But he is annoying as hell. So this is a fate you do not want for the next 2 days, is him Velcroing his little butt to you on every break, trying to get money out of you. So here's the vital conclusion I tell the financial advisors. Most of America is useless to you. Okay, you got to get it. It's really true for almost all of us. Most of America is useless to you with what you do, to me with what I do, to almost anybody with what they do, unless you're at Walmart. The inverse is true for Walmart. High-value customers don't really exist for Walmart. High frequency, low value Walmart is in the food stamps business, in case you don't know it. Some stores hold parties. They've taken the Tupperware party, moved it to the Walmart store the night that everybody's SNAP cards get reloaded. Because if you don't know it, you don't have to go get food stamps anymore. They appear in your little card. So there's no shame. There should be shame. But it should work like Survivor. I'm serious. You should have to do the walk of shame across the pond with crocodiles in it and shit, and everybody yelling at you when you go get them and when you come back out with them. It used to be that way. My family was on food stamps for a few months. There was a separate line in the grocery store with a big sign over it for food stamp customers, and that's where you had to go. Now you get it on your SNAP card, and Walmart has a party at midnight when the card gets loaded. Free donuts, music, Star Wars characters walking around. And I'm serious, I'm not lying. And all the food stamp people come, and at 12:01, like on New Year's Eve, boom, our card is born again. And we run around the store and buy shit. It's 15% of their bottom line. By the way, I'm glad they figured it out. I'm a Walmart stockholder. It's terrific. If we could get them to reload the card twice a month, I'd be even happier. We could have 2 parties. Right? But I don't think these are the customers you want to stake your future on. Because this is big volume, tiny customer value, tiny margins. If you want the opposite of that, then most of America is useless to you. This drives conclusions about how you have to behave. In almost every haystack, we're looking for a few gold needles. Haystack has a few gold needles. In our neighborhood, the pressure wash guys come around every spring to pressure wash your house and pressure wash your driveway, right? And they've done some smart things. The truck is all wrapped. They make the guy go around and put a door hanger on every other house. We just did your neighbor address filled in. Take a look at how great their driveway looks. Call us, right? So they do some smart stuff. What they don't do is any differential marketing or any differential selling. So 4 years ago, they're there doing a driveway. I don't remember why I was out during the day because I usually don't emerge until night like a bat. But I was out and I saw them. And I walked over and said to the neighbor, "You happy with what they're doing?" Which is the first and last time I spoke to the neighbor. And she said, "Yeah." And so I go to the guys and say, "Can you do mine? And I'd really like you to do it like while you're here, right? So I don't have to screw around with booking a time and all that. And if you can squeeze it in now, price is no object, and I'm a good tipper." Now, if they could train these guys, see, I'm the only guy I'll bet they heard price is no object from in our entire community. Everybody else probably asks a lot of price questions. I'm going, price is no object. Just do it. Not, well, can we do the driveway but not the walk? Can we just do the front of the house and not the back of the house? How much if you don't use soap? All the shit I'm sure they hear on a regular basis. But does anybody make a note of that and now market and sell to me differently than anybody else? Hell no. So nobody tries to sell me the 5-year plan. Let's make a decision once, Mr. Kennedy. Prepay for 5 years. You'll never have to worry about this again. We'll show up. We'll do it every spring, the first week that the weather turns good. Great. Here. Great. I would do it in a hot second. Nobody asks. Right? Nobody markets to me differently later. Next year, I get the same stupid door hanger on my door. Everybody gets on every door. No. You know, hot chick in bathing suit should be at door. All right? I mean, something, right? But we don't do any differential stuff for the gold needles. And yet, in the whole haystack, there's only a few gold needles of real high value. Decisions this, you cannot be, because most of America is useless to you, you dare not be in the vanilla ice cream business. You cannot be vanilla, despite all the risk that now comes with being not vanilla. You cannot be vanilla, because you can't monetize in the vanilla business. There's too much vanilla. Everybody's got vanilla. They'll deliver vanilla. How much did you pay for your vanilla last time? I'll sell you vanilla for 20% less. So you can't. You can't be in the business of appealing to the masses because they're worthless to you. That means almost automatically you are going to be in the business of irritating, annoying, or offending the masses. Your criticism from and on behalf of the masses is going to grow, not abate. Disney gets more and more criticism about pricing the ordinary family out. It's a big topic of conversation. It's all over social media. Some bonehead proposed this week. It wasn't Van Jones, if you know who Van is, but it was a guy like Van Jones. He's on CNN all the time. That all boards of directors should not just represent shareholders. There should be someone on the board representing the customers, and someone on the board representing the poor and the social good, and someone on the board representing the community in which the company resides. Well, terrific. Where will that lead? Well, there's a word for it. It's called socialism. There's a word for it. We've already defined it. But it tells you how annoyed the masses are getting, how pitchforky they are getting, and you got to be okay with them getting that way with you. You used to be able to go to the really big collector car auctions. You just bought a ticket and you went. More and more of them, no. You got to have posted some money. Bank line of credit or cash. One I was going to wander into a few months ago was 25 grand. Had to be on deposit or you don't get in the doors. Because they're not in the business of entertaining the riffraff who want to look at cars. They're in the business of filling a room with people who are going to buy cars and the hell with everybody else. You can't follow big trends or popular methods because all big trends and all popular methods are connected to popularity with the masses. That's what makes them a big trend. So I was at a seminar. I was a speaker. We're not very far from a quick break for those of you that have bladder issues. I was at a seminar. I'll tell you this, and then we'll take a break. So I'm at this seminar, and I'm usually much better behaved when I'm at someone else's, home than I am at my own, as we all are. I try not to, crap on the carpet. So this guy was on before me in the morning, and he did a really dumb version of Hogshead's attention span of the goldfish talk, right? So he's got these PowerPoint slides, of course, and he does 15 minutes on the attention span now is, 17 seconds. And so you can't have video that's longer than 17 seconds. And you can't ask anybody to read long copy. You've got to show them pictures and yada, 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 okay? And he does this whole routine. I had really no alternative because of my routine, because of my self-interest. But even without that, this would have been irresistible. So when I got up there, I said to everybody in the room, I have a question for you. How many of you are trying to get goldfish as your customers? I'm just really curious. Nobody in the room. I said, all right. How many of you are trying to get the average person as your customer? And before you answer, let me remind you what the average person is. Stupid and broke. That's what the average person is, just for the record. Right? So there's a reason Iacocca put 12 cup holders in that minivan. Because if you only put 6, people are dropping a cup on the floor everywhere. You got everywhere they turn, there's got to be a cup holder because they're stupid. All right? So I said they're stupid and broke. Now, how many of you are trying to get the average person as your customer? Believe it or not, a few people raised their hands, even with that setup. But my point, right? One guy yelled out, F no. So he's the 1% guy in the pyramid, right? The rest is this. So I said, if you're not trying to get goldfish and you're not trying to get average people, then even though every fact you heard this morning and every statistic you heard this morning, every fact about when they bail out of the video online, it's all true. I have no quarrel with any of the facts. I only caution you about your use of them. Because it is the old thing I've always said. If you want a backyard full of rats, you put the biggest lump of cheese out there you can find. You'll get rats. You won't get any deer. If you want deer, you put a salt lick. You won't get any rats. So if you do these things that the average people and goldfish require, you will have goldfish and average people. And they're pretty much useless to you. So whatever those facts are, they're based on attracting into your backyard critters you don't want. Now, if you didn't know what to do, all you have to do is just not do what you see everybody else doing. So even if you didn't know what the right number was, you would know as a starting point, 17 seconds ain't right. Let's test 19. I mean, okay? You would have a starting point. So whatever is mass, you've got to abandon and replace somehow. So how do the masses fill a room to sell people things? They con them, some version of the Amitrap, or you're coming to a seminar, and then we sell you shed Financial advisors have a meeting at a country club and waive free steak. And the old people put their dentures in, and they come for the free steak. Right? A couple of them bring a blender so they can. He puts them on a plane and brings them to him. Pretty different. Right? So the big conclusion for this morning and for the 2 days is whatever you do that attracts goldfish and attracts minnows, which will be what you see mostly done. It's what you will see all around you in whatever industry you're in, because hardly anybody is trying to get whales, in part because they're in awe of them and intimidated by them and all of that. A lot of other reasons we'll talk about. But pretty much whatever you see everybody doing, you got to know it's wrong. Not just some of it, I mean all of it. So like there's a trend in dentistry and in Cairo. It started in Cairo. The staff now is not in professional stuff. They're in a polo shirt, a unisex polo shirt with a logo on it, like the Subway sandwich artist. Well, that's the Subway sandwich artist uniform. Am I reassured by having your dental staff look like the nitwit that makes my sandwich at Subway, who you got to tell them one ingredient at a time? Because if you tell them 4, you can't do it. Is this what you want your dental staff to look like? Well, it's what everybody's doing with their dental staff. That's exactly why you shouldn't do it, stupid. They should be in doctor things with stethoscopes around their necks. I used to teach the chiros this. There's nothing a chiropractor does that requires a stethoscope. I said, you immediately elevate your status, just wear a stethoscope. We don't use a stethoscope. I said, I don't give a shit if you use it. I'm just telling you to wear it. I didn't tell you to use it. Just wear it. All right? My dentist checks your blood pressure every time you go in. For what? They're not going to change a damn. I go for hygiene. They ain't going to change hygiene based on my blood pressure. It's added value, and it makes them look like a higher level professional. All right? There's no logical. It's nonsensical. Well, first of all, I can tell you what my blood pressure is. All right? Believe it or not, by the way, it's low. Most people think I'm walking around, waiting to shoot somebody, but I am, but it doesn't seem to affect, my blood pressure. So whatever is being done, all the way down to what shirt do they wear, whatever is being done that appeals to the masses, if you want to raise up in customer value, you can't do. Period. End of story. You got to replace it with something else. Do we all know exactly what that something else is? No. But we know we got to replace it with something else. We're going Saturday night, right, to the after party. Did you wind up taking that? The after party. Did you wind up? Yeah. Okay, so the little annoying guy's picking up the tab. All right? So, yeah, you should. Here's the good news for the little annoying guy and the bad news for Northfield Park. And here's how dumb they are. They know me. They know I'm loaded. I'm not the average schmuck bringing a group of 20 out there for the night. Which means, so the good news for you is you're getting by cheap. That's the good news. Because they only offered me one plan, cheap. And I said, fine. They could have offered a better plan at 3 times the money. And I would have said fine, especially since I knew I was spending his money. Right? They could at least have said plan A, plan B, plan C. Right? Would you like us to have somebody, which they do on special occasion nights, would you like us to have somebody bring a horse over in a pen that they can all pet and take pictures with, but we got to charge you an extra? Fine, bring the horse. Right? What do I care? Here. Nobody even asks. One size fits all plan. Well, that's what everybody does. If you ask them, why do you do that stupid thing? They would say, well, that's what everybody in the hospitality business does. And the place I worked before this, at SeaWorld, that's what they do. Right? That's what they would tell you. Disney doesn't do it, by the way. You start out at an obscene group price at Disney and you wind up at a 5 times obscene price. Because, I mean, they keep, hey, you know, we could put furry tablecloths on, but that, oh, fuck, put the furry tablecloths on. You know, we could have the mouse run through here. I'll have the mouse run through here. Time you're done, holy shit. Well, that's what should happen. Right? So think how dumb they are. Right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember exactly now, it's $35 a head. I'd have spent 90 in the blink of an eye, right? I mean, and this is like everywhere. But the large reason it happens is because everything is tailored to the masses or the cheapest guy and to the popular process, the way it's done in our business. All right, let's take a 15-minute break, please. One, and I'm going to raffle a prize.